In an age of endless connection, have you ever felt utterly disconnected? Picture yourself in a crowded room, laughter bouncing off walls, conversations swirling like leaves in a storm, phones lighting up with notifications, yet something deep inside you screams for escape. It's not just simple discomfort, it's a bone-deep knowing, an ancient wisdom whispering that despite what society preaches about constant social interaction being the key to happiness, your soul craves something different, something deeper. Society tells us we are social creatures, that happiness flows from constant connection. Yet here you stand, feeling your energy drain with each passing moment of small talk and social performance. The Stoics understood this paradox well, that wisdom often comes not from endless interaction, but from careful observation and measured engagement. This discomfort you feel, it's not weakness, it's not failure. When you yearn to step away from the chaos of social gatherings, when superficial conversations leave you hungry for depth, you're experiencing what Marcus Aurelius might have recognized as your mind's natural inclination toward meaningful existence. The judgment of others, their raised eyebrows when you leave early, their concerned questions about your preference for solitude, these are merely external impressions, what Epictetus would call things not under our control. Your response to social situations isn't a flaw to be corrected, but rather a signal worth understanding. In the next few minutes, we'll explore 5 profound reasons why you might find yourself at odds with constant social engagement. Not to justify or defend these feelings, but to understand them through the lens of Stoic wisdom. For as Seneca wrote, the first step towards wisdom is to acknowledge our own ignorance. Let us begin this journey of self-discovery together. 1. The power of solitude. In a world that never stops talking, there's a profound truth you've discovered, the quiet power of being alone. It's not about scrolling through social media in isolation or binge-watching shows to escape. No, this is about something deeper, something the ancient philosophers understood, but our modern world seems to have forgotten. When you step away from a crowded room, when you decline another exhausting social gathering, you're not being antisocial. You're being honest with yourself. Like a phone that needs charging, your energy has limits. Each conversation, each moment of forced small talk, each performance of social niceties, they all drain this precious resource. What others don't see is the richness of your inner world. While they bounce from one surface-level conversation to another, discussing weather and sharing recycled opinions, your mind craves depth. You're not interested in collecting 100 acquaintances who know your face but not your soul. You seek those rare, meaningful connections that leave you energized rather than depleted. Society pushes the narrative that constant social interaction equals happiness, that the person with the most friends on social media somehow wins at life. But you've learned something different. In those quiet moments, when you're free from the pressure to perform, to smile, to keep the conversation flowing, that's when your thoughts can finally breathe. This isn't weakness. This isn't failure. This is self-awareness in its purest form. The world may not understand why you choose solitude over shallow socializing, but you don't owe anyone an explanation. Your need for meaningful connections and quiet reflection isn't a flaw to fix. It's a strength to embrace. 2. The wisdom of caution. Trust. It's a delicate thread that holds relationships together, but when that thread snaps, when someone takes your vulnerability and turns it into a weapon, something fundamental changes within you. It's not just about being hurt. It's about how that hurt reshapes your entire view of human connection. In this age of instant messaging and social media where friendships are formed and broken with the swipe of a finger, your caution isn't paranoia, it's wisdom earned through experience. You've seen how quickly private conversations can become public spectacles, how trusted confidants can transform into distant strangers, how loyalty can evaporate like morning dew under the harsh sun of self-interest. Your heightened awareness, what others might call suspicion, is really your mind's sophisticated defense system at work. You notice the subtle contradictions, the friend who shares your secrets under the guise of concern, the colleague whose smile doesn't quite reach their eyes, the acquaintance whose promises are as empty as their words are abundant. These aren't signs of overthinking. They're recognition of patterns that have cost you dearly to learn. But here's what matters. Protecting yourself isn't the same as closing yourself off completely. Like a careful investor who's learned from past losses, you're not refusing to invest in people, you're just more selective about where you place your trust. You understand that meaningful connections aren't built on grand declarations or shared social media posts, but on consistent, reliable actions over time. This careful approach to trust isn't a burden you need to shed. It's a shield you've earned the right to carry. In a world where vulnerability is often exploited and authenticity is rare, your cautious heart isn't just protecting you, it's guiding you toward connections that are truly worth the risk. The company we keep. There's an ancient truth that remains painfully relevant today. Not all company nourishes the soul. You've felt it. That subtle exhaustion that creeps in after spending time with certain people. It's not about being antisocial, it's about recognizing when social interactions deplete rather than enrich your life. Think of those people who treat conversation like a performance, their words creating an endless monologue where no real exchange can exist. The ones who scroll through their phones while you speak yet demand your undivided attention when it's their turn. The chronic complainers who see darkness in every ray of light, who transform casual meetups into draining therapy sessions where you're cast as the unwilling therapist. Then there are the subtle energy thieves, the ones who master the art of diplomatic poison. They deliver criticism wrapped in fake concern. I'm worried about how much time you spend alone, they say, while undermining your choices. Or those who insist you're missing out by not conforming to their version of fun, as if happiness only comes in their preferred package, served with loud music and forced laughter. You've learned to recognize the aftermath, that hollow feeling after forced social interactions, the relief when you finally escape, the way your mind feels cluttered with others' drama and negativity. It's not paranoia to protect yourself from these experiences, it's self-respect. This isn't about misanthropy or isolation, it's about understanding that your social energy is a precious resource, too valuable to waste on connections that leave you feeling diminished. When you choose solitude over draining company, you're not hiding, you're honoring your own well-being. Remember, the quality of your social connections will always matter more than their quantity. In a world obsessed with networking and social capital, choosing your company carefully isn't antisocial, it's wisdom in action. 4. The mirror of self-doubt. Every social interaction can feel like standing before 1,000 mirrors when you're battling with self-esteem. But these mirrors are distorted, warped by years of internal criticism and perceived judgments. You enter a room and suddenly you're not just a person among people, you're an actor on a stage. Every word, gesture, and breath under intense scrutiny, most of it from your own unforgiving mind. It's exhausting, isn't it? The constant internal commentary. Did that joke land wrong? Why did they look away when I was speaking? Should I have said something different? Your mind becomes a relentless critic, replaying social interactions like a broken record, finding flaws in the most innocent moments. A simple coffee with friends transforms into an exercise in self-consciousness, where even your breathing feels somehow wrong. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. You're not actually afraid of others. You're afraid of the version of yourself that you think they see. That imagined version who's not intelligent enough for deep conversations, not entertaining enough for casual banter, not successful enough for professional gatherings. It's as if you're carrying around a spotlight that illuminates every perceived flaw while casting your strengths into shadow. The cruel irony is that this hyper-awareness creates the very distance you fear. When you're so focused on monitoring yourself, on maintaining this exhausting performance, genuine connection becomes nearly impossible. It's like trying to dance while simultaneously watching yourself dance. The flow is lost. the authenticity sacrificed. And social media hasn't helped, has it? Each perfectly curated post, each filtered photo, each carefully crafted status update from others becomes another measuring stick against which you find yourself falling short. The highlight reels of others' lives become the standard against which you judge your behind-the-scenes footage. But consider this. The most memorable and meaningful conversations you've had probably weren't with people who were perfect. They were with people who were real, who showed their vulnerabilities, who didn't hide behind a facade of perfection. Your perceived flaws, the ones that feel so glaring to you, might be the very things that make you relatable, authentic, human. The path forward isn't about becoming someone else, someone better. It's about understanding that your worth isn't measured by the smoothness of your small talk or the brilliance of your insights. It's about recognizing that the judgment you fear from others is often just an echo of your own inner critic. 5. The inner battlefield of social anxiety. Imagine your mind as an ancient warrior preparing for battle, except the battlefield is a simple coffee shop, and the opposing army is nothing more than a group of friendly faces. Yet your body responds as if facing real danger, heart racing, palms sweating, thoughts spiraling into an endless cascade of what-ifs. This isn't mere shyness or awkwardness. This is social anxiety, a modern affliction that turns everyday interactions into monuments of dread. Your body enters high alert at the mere ping of a party invitation. That casual office lunch? It feels like preparing for an interrogation. A friend's birthday gathering? It might as well be a public speaking event before thousands. The cruel irony is that while others see a normal social situation, you're fighting an invisible war. Every casual conversation becomes a minefield where words must be carefully chosen. Every gesture feels scrutinized. Every silence seems to stretch into infinity. You're not just participating in the interaction, you're simultaneously its participant, observer, and harshest critic. Your mind becomes a relentless director of worst-case scenarios. They'll notice how your voice shakes. That joke will fall flat. Your anxiety is visible to everyone. The exhaustion sets in before you even leave your house, because you've already lived through countless versions of the event in your mind, each ending in some form of perceived catastrophe. But here's what others don't see: the courage it takes to face these fears. Every time you push yourself to stay just a few minutes longer, every time you force yourself to speak despite the tremor in your voice, every time you show up despite every cell in your body screaming to retreat, that's not weakness, that's warrior-like strength. This anxiety isn't a character flaw, it's more like an overprotective internal alarm system that needs recalibration. It's not about getting over it or just relaxing. It's about understanding that your mind is trying to protect you from dangers that, in most cases, exist only in memory or imagination. The path forward isn't about becoming fearless. It's about learning to coexist with the fear without letting it dictate your choices. It's about recognizing that perfection in social situations isn't the goal, presence is. And sometimes presence means simply being there, anxiety and all, because you've decided that connection is worth the discomfort. Remember, in a world that often celebrates extroversion and constant social engagement, your journey with social anxiety isn't a failure. It's part of your unique human experience, and there's profound strength in acknowledging this, in taking those small steps forward, even when retreat feels easier. 6. The depth of inner purpose. In a world obsessed with constant connection and endless distraction, you've discovered something profound. The need for meaningful solitude isn't just about avoiding people, it's about pursuing deeper purpose. While others fill their calendars with endless social obligations, you've learned to question, does this gathering serve my growth, my purpose, my quest for understanding? Think about those moments when you decline another casual meetup, not because you're antisocial, but because you're engaged in something meaningful. Maybe you're learning a new skill, working on a creative project, or simply thinking deeply about life's important questions. The modern world rarely makes space for this kind of focused solitude, mistaking it for isolation or depression. Your reluctance to engage in hollow social rituals isn't a flaw, it's a recognition that time is precious. While others spend hours in meaningless gatherings, drowning in small talk and surface-level interactions, you're drawn to activities that feed your soul. Reading books that challenge your thinking, pursuing projects that ignite your passion, or simply sitting in contemplative silence. These solitary pursuits aren't acts of withdrawal. They're investments in your personal growth. Society might label this behavior as antisocial, but you understand a deeper truth. Not every moment needs to be shared to be meaningful. In fact, some of life's most profound experiences happen in solitude, when you're free to explore your thoughts without the constant pressure to verbalize them for others' consumption. This isn't about being better than others, it's about being true to your own path. When you choose purposeful solitude over empty socializing, you're not rejecting humanity, you're embracing a more intentional way of living. The truth about why you don't like to be around people isn't simple, it's a tapestry woven from different threads. Your introversion that craves depth over shallow connections, the careful wisdom born from past betrayals, the exhaustion of spending time with those who drain rather than nourish your spirit, the weight of self-doubt that makes every interaction feel like a performance, the battlefield of social anxiety that turns simple gatherings into tests of endurance, and finally, that deep inner calling that pulls you toward meaningful solitude and purpose. But here's what matters. These aren't weaknesses to overcome, they're not flaws to fix. They're aspects of your being that deserve understanding, not judgment. The ancient Stoics knew something that our hyper-connected world has forgotten, that true strength often lies in choosing your engagements wisely, in knowing when to step back, in understanding that meaningful solitude can be as nourishing as meaningful connection. Remember this. For every person who questions your need for space, there's another who understands it deeply. For every social event you decline, there's a moment of peace you gain. For every superficial connection you avoid, there's an opportunity for deeper understanding of yourself, of others, of life itself. The path forward isn't about forcing yourself to become more social, more outgoing, more normal. It's about honoring your nature while staying open to genuine connection. It's about finding the balance between solitude and engagement that works for you, not society. Because at the end of the day, the quality of your inner life matters more than the quantity of your social interactions. This is your journey. Walk it with pride, with purpose, and with the quiet confidence that comes from truly knowing yourself.